The Kindle Fire is clearly kind of a stopgap. The real Kindle tablet is coming out next year, and the Kindle Fire was what, they took the playbook and they put better software on it and they got it out for the fall. But I think in next year and in the years to come, you will see other Amazon hardware devices, and they really see themselves as one of the few companies that can go head-to-head with Apple just because they're about the only other company that has the services.
Yeah, I would look for a bigger tablet and a phone. So something on either
who's
side.
making a bigger tablet?
Huh?
Amazon?
Amazon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's happening.
What about the margins, though, at Amazon? Does it matter?
I don't think it matters.
They don't need
content.
those stinking margins.
Look at the first Kindle. It was $400. Now you can get it for $79. You know, it'll be a stocking stuffer from.
But the
some
actual
company
hardware cost is more than the cost that they're selling.
Yeah, but it's apparent based on the fact that they're lowering the price of the hardware that it's about the content.
Yeah.
You know, they sell 10 books. They made $100. It's more than the actual Amazon, the Kindle cost to sell. So
Jeff Bezos has unicorns that fix that margin problem, doesn't he? It always seems to work out.
angels with this fairy dust.
In the secret
sprinkle on it.
Amazon lab.
Right. Okay, I think the time has come to start thinking about and giving your big prediction for 2012. The big one.
Mobile
The
phones.
massive. People will use that.
Put that on the video.
I'm going with pagers.
Which end are we going to start? Well, we'll start with Greg.
Start with me. Okay. I touched on this kind of lightly in the video, but Nintendo's launching their next generation console. It's the Wii U. I think that's going to be the biggest flop they've had in a long while. So,
Biggest flop they've had in a long while.
biggest flop they've had in a long while.
Why?
So I don't know if this is the right audience, but how many people out here, do you own a Wii or your family owns a Wii? Good number? How many, like after they launched it, did your kids or did you know why you wanted it? It's a good number, right? It's because of the motion. Emotion was a brand new, exciting thing at that time. And then now Sony's picked it up and Microsoft has picked it up and everyone kind of has motion. When you look at the Wii U, there's not really any one feature that is that killer feature, that thing that everyone would want. And kids would come over and say, I need this. Especially with this weird little limitations. Like there's this rumor, and kind of confirmed by Nintendo themselves, that the big staple, the controller with the screen built right into it, there can only be one of those, which kind of defeats the whole purpose. So we use a flop.
All right.
I'm still using Dance Dance Fever. Nobody else is?
That is a brave admission up on the stage.
That's how I keep so svelte. So.
Nice.
Well, I'm going to predict that we see a lot more products axed by Google, including the Chromebooks, and I really do think that we'll see the end of Chrome OS.
Mm-hmm. Why?
I mean, it's unfortunate. I think that actually Google, as the search, as the web, once upon a time Google was associated with the web, it seems that they've put a lot of energy into the Android operating system instead of their web OS, their Chrome OS. But I just don't think they've put the resources there, and I think that the company is sort of trying to narrow down its focus on what it wants to move forward with, and I just don't think the Chromebooks in particular have seen the uptake that they were hoping for.
Yeah,
I
building
think
the
they've
whole
sold
thing around.
like 10.
Yeah, building the whole thing around netbooks probably wasn't
Well,
the
it
best.
probably wasn't such a great
Yeah,
idea.
yeah. All right. I like that, by the way. When you said that, I was like, ooh, I wish I had thought of that. That's great.
Well, I would say Oracle is going to buy HP.
I like you with the bold predictions.
Is this after
And then
Apple
get
bought-
swallowed by Apple coming in
So
from
I
behind.
say this somewhat facetiously, although Larry would love it and Mark would love it. It would be some great karmic payback for them. But I think what I mean is there's going to be some significant consolidation in the enterprise IT space. I don't know exactly who, but those companies that own major pieces of it, they're not all going to exist as separate companies. The other thing I would say is desktop virtualization will be huge in 2012. Not the most exciting subject, but it's going to take off. There's going to be a lot of money spent supporting it because it requires a lot of server, network, and storage to support it. And the reason it'll take off is because I think it provides pretty much the only significant solution to the security problem that people face because of mobility. If you can't control the devices, you can't control all the things that people are going to do on an individual basis, you can lock down what they're working on from a company perspective and deliver that to them. So I think desktop virtualization is going to be huge next year.
Wow. Larry?
You know, I think a lot of people are sitting around asking themselves whether Apple will be able to do the things that Steve Jobs would have done if he was here. I think that's the wrong question. The one person in business who Steve Jobs is most like is Walt Disney. And when he passed away, his company spent 20 years trying to do what Walt would have done, and that did not work. And I think the people who run Apple are smart enough to understand this. And I don't know what it is, but I feel like in 2012 you will see Apple do things where people's immediate response will be, Steve Jobs probably would not have done that, but you know, it's smart and it's cool, and maybe that is actually more Steve Jobs-like than trying to do exactly the things he would have done if he was still around.
In the Apple Memorial, Tim Cook actually said that Steve told him, don't ask what I would do, just do what's right.
Which is what Steve would do.
It's definitely a loaded answer.
You just blew my mind.
You know, for 2012, I would love to say the personal robot, mainly because I don't want to fold my own laundry anymore. But I think that's like 5-10 years, unfortunately. I think, I already touched on this, but I think one thing we'll start to see more of next year is this convergence, the natural user interface. We're going to see more voice, more swiping, more gesture control of devices. And I think that those really are the computer-human interface that are ultimately going to make the most sense for the mobile age.
I don't predict a thing. I predict a movement, kind of. I think we're going to finally see a bit of a reset on the internet. We're going to actually start to see some of these market valuations become what they really should be. They're hyperinflated. When Facebook IPOs and we actually see what's under the rug, it'll decide whether these things are right or they're not. And I think that we'll start to see some more legislation come into place as far as privacy online. People will start to realize that, hey, I shouldn't have put that picture of myself in a bikini, even though I am a man, online. I think a lot of different things like that where we actually will start to see a bit of a reset, because right now we've just been like a bunch of hyperactive kids with a bottle of Coca-Cola. Like, oh my God, look at this, look at that, look at this, look at that. And we haven't suffered the repercussions of that, but that is just happening. And I think that's going to be a big part of the reset. Obviously.
Anthony Weiner would argue with you about not suffering the repercussions.
Well, part of the reason is because politicians are now using the internet properly, and they're starting to see what these things are, and when they get in the way, things kind of slow down a little. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing.
So when you say a reset, do you mean stock market reset?
I think not a stock market reset. I think a valuation reset.
Valuation reset. Okay.
Every company I know is completely overvalued. Right? Is Foursquare worth $700 million? Is Zynga worth $20 billion? No, these companies are not. They're worth a lot of money, but they're not worth what they're valued at. And I think that the reason they're valued in this way is because the only quantification is the media coverage of it, right? So when we finally start to see how much these companies make, we will then say, hey, you're not worth that, you're worth this. And I think that's going to be a really good thing, because it actually starts to show that there have to be business models behind things.
Yep. Interesting. Emily?
So sticking with Groupon, where I'm not winning any new friends, I think that Groupon and the daily deals business is going to really struggle, if not move towards sizzling. I mean, traffic is dropping off, subscribers just aren't there. You know, you're going to see Groupon report its first quarter as a public company. I think it'll be really interesting to see what kind of growth there actually is. And the stock's already down 40% since the IPO, and the market is just so overcrowded and so oversaturated. And I'm at a point where, I mean, I keep getting Groupon emails just because I'm a tech journalist and I want to see if there's anything cool, but you know, I rarely open them.
Well, you already got my big prediction, and that was the Amazon phone.